I expected early retirement to change my schedule, but I didn't realize how much early retirement would actually change me so soon. Over the past 2 weeks since I've officially been early retired, I've noticed a few small changes in how I'm approaching life, even though they're very subtle. They're very profound. As I move throughout the day, I'm realizing how present I am in my everyday actions and small things that I'm doing throughout the day. How I'm interacting with my family and people and friends in a much more relaxed attitude. Today I want to just share some of the 6 biggest things I've noticed since leaving work and how they're affecting my day. Actually, none of them have anything to do with money. These aren't dramatic transitions or transformations. They're quiet changes. They've completely reshaped how I spend my time and how I'm conscious of what I do on a daily basis. The first thing that I noticed that's changed is I stopped binge watching videos on a particular YouTube. YouTube has been a bit of my vice. I spend a lot of time researching and listening to news and market updates and finance updates and listening to different finance people on investing advice. And I like to watch how what's happening in the economy and the market and how the economy is affecting the market. I don't do a lot of news, but I do listen. I'm aware of certain things happening because I'm interested mostly in how they affect the market and economy and even the exchange rate, since that was part of my life in my last job. I was heavily involved in managing exchange rates in different currencies, so I had to be aware of what was happening in the economy. So I'm not sure if I can look at it as a waste of time, but I think it was too much, and I think it did affect cause some of my anxiety. So I did have my time in mornings where I was quiet and I was removed from my phone, but most of the rest of the day was like all noise. So I would be watching and listening to podcasts and news updates throughout the entire day when I wasn't working. When I go to the gym, I wasn't listening to music. I was listening to news updates. And one of the problems I think that added, even though I knew this was probably not very good for me, I still listened to most of the videos at 1.5 speed. And it was probably very foolish. But I was trying to cram in so much. I had very small pockets of time throughout the day, small pockets of space that I probably should have used for quietness, but I ended up filling my mind with this stuff. So during the gym, I was listening to multiple videos and I couldn't really do my workout. So I wasn't really focusing on my workout. And then when I was focusing on my workout, I wasn't even listening to what I was hearing anyway. So some of it was probably a waste. And I think it became a big blur. During meals, I'd have something ready for me to eat before I went to work. And she would usually leave me alone because she knew I only had so much time. But I would sit there gulping my food down while watching finance videos, or if I was having a problem at work, I was watching how to deal with this type of person, how to deal with this type of person. A lot of the videos were around people who were like an environment of mistrust, or dealing with a narcissist type person, or a control freak, or dealing with people who don't listen to you. So I was always trying to learn something. On the way to work, I was listening to something, 2 or 3 videos by the time I walked to work. On the way back, I was listening to videos. When I got back home, I had something to eat. We'd go to the gym, and I was also listening to videos. I was listening, and I haven't listened to music in probably about 8 years, so intentionally. So one of the things I started doing is listening to music. I am listening to less videos now throughout my day, and I'm listening to them at a normal speed. So I'm consuming less, and I feel like I'm absorbing more. So a big noticeable one is, it's pretty obvious, I'm not thinking about work anymore. I'm trying to avoid recency bias here. But when I look back on the last 8 years, my entire time I was constantly thinking about something with work, problems, dynamics, bad dynamics with people. That was more an issue in the past 2 years because of the difficult environment that our office became, especially with the change of leadership. The whole dynamic changed. There was a lack of transparency and a lack of trust. But I realized I would go to work, I would go to bed, sleep, and my mind would start racing with all the problems and things I needed to resolve and panic about making a mistake. I would go to bed with that. I would wake up with that. I would fall asleep with it. My nightmares, that's actually one thing that stopped is the nightmares were, I would consistently have nightmares that I'd be waking up looking for something, like I lost something. Like I dropped something, I'd be on the floor, I'd be physically standing up, and my wife would just say, it's a dream, come back to bed. I'd physically be on the floor looking for things. And that was pretty much the 8 years. My weekends, my evenings, my nights were consumed. I couldn't go to the shower without thinking about work. I couldn't sit there with my wife and have a nice dinner, or even a normal breakfast and lunch, or even do anything with her without thinking about work. I wasn't present with her. And I cannot believe how much that impacted me since I left. And my mind is much more free. I'm much more calm. I still am working through the anxiety, and I believe it's going away. And I'm dealing with the emotional attachment that I had to work. But I'm sleeping better. I don't need to take any melatonin when I go to bed. Usually I can fall asleep and I'm waking up fully from a full night's sleep. But the thoughts of these problems, it's almost like someone took an eraser on a whiteboard, and those problems are gone now. And it's really an amazing feeling to be here, and I'm not distracted with something from work. I cannot explain to you. I think you can only be through it. You have to have gone through it to feel it, to really understand how amazing that is, and especially when you've come off of a very high stressful job. I had a pretty demanding job. I was one of 3 directors, and I was the finance director, and I was it. You know, any financial impact on the organization was me. I had no headquarters to go to. So that was a lot of pressure, especially on a $30 million portfolio where you're helping, hundreds of thousands of people, beneficiaries, and you've only got a staff of maybe 40 or 50 and working in a system that's not very efficient or not very modern. So there was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress that I don't have to think about anymore. Similarly, I'm more present with some of the things that I'm doing. I'm more conscious about what I'm eating and the food. I'm not inhaling it and looking at a video. My wife and I sit together and eat more often, and actually are having conversations where my mind's not distracted. I'm giving more. I have more time and headspace to listen to her. We're talking about small things around the house since we've been back. I would have been running to the computer every other hour or so if I was here, even on holiday, to go check email. But I'm actually coming outside, and I'm stretching in the morning. I'm walking around. I feel like I'm much more conscious and present, and it reminds me of a book that I read, Power of the Presence of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And just actually being here and being conscious about every move that I'm making. And I'm having more of that. And especially in the morning, it's just very, and any moment I have with my wife, I can go to church like we did today and not be distracted. I can focus on the preacher and trying to learn Lao and listening to the words that he was saying, and I wasn't distracted. Number 4, I'm being much more methodical about things that I do. So one of the things that I used to do many years ago when I had a job that was a little more sane, and I didn't have these kind of problems in the office, especially specifically when I worked at Lao. I have a grinder. I have a hand grinder for coffee beans, and I have a pour over. And so in the morning, I'm grinding my beans. I'm counting the beans. I have a little scale. I'm counting the beans. I'm warming up my pot. I'm warming up my cup. I'm getting everything ready. It's small. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm no coffee snob, but it's something methodical, and like creating my coffee in the morning is just very soothing. I like to pour the grinds out. I like to count the beans. I like to adjust my grinder to find the setting that gives me the beans that I enjoy or to taste the best to me. And I've been watching videos on how to make a good cup of coffee. There's millions out there. They're really awesome to watch. I mean, I think the curated videos, they're attractive to watch, but I can't believe how much time people put into these. They have their $3,000 machines, coffee machines, and fancy equipment, huge stations, and I've got this little counter that I'm very proud of, but that's enough for me. But just to count it and watch the grinds bloom when you pour the water over, watch the bubbles come up. I mean, the grinds actually bloom, and I just find that very soothing. I'm watching them as I'm pouring this coffee, this hot water carefully over this grinder, and then I'm listening to the water funnel down through into the cup, and it's just a very soothing process for me that I'm really enjoying. When I go to the gym, I'm much more methodical and intentional about going to this weight, doing this exercise. I'm listening to my body more, and I'm much more in tune with what I'm doing. I'm much slower about putting videos together and thinking about what I want to say. Whereas, last year I was doing Winding Down Chronicles, so a lot of things were off the cuff. And I had an idea of what I was going to say. Sometimes I had notes, but most of it was just kind of very conscious, very subconscious flow of ideas and thoughts. And they were good for me to process and to get them out and to document. I'm not so sure how interesting it was for the viewers, but I think something like this is something a little more intentional and focused and controlled. And I have time to actually edit things, and I don't do a lot of editing, but I do have to cut some ums and ahs out of and some space out of the video. But I am taking more time, and I'm planning to spend more time to use my creative side to make more videos and make them useful for people who are watching like you. I'm participating in more house stuff. Number 5, I'm doing more things around the house. So my wife and the ones who lived here, some of her family, they always respected my space. They knew I was working. They knew I was bringing home the bacon, and they just took care of the house. They did everything, and they would only let me know when they had a problem and they needed to spend money to fix something or to buy something, and I'd just give it to my wife and she would manage it. But I'm getting more involved in that now, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm walking around the house more. I'm doing small things. They kind of take care of that part of the work. My wife always tells me, you work inside, I work outside, which means she does all the taking care of I call her the manager of the house. She makes sure we have food to eat, and I make sure she has money to buy the food and to do whatever else she needs. But I'm getting more involved in that, in small things around the house, and it makes me appreciate the house more. It makes me look at the house closer, be much more attentive to needs, even beyond what I need, such as if the shower doesn't work, if my shower doesn't work, I got to get it fixed. But now I'm noticing things that may not be convenient for the other family members, and I'm asking, is this something that could be improved? I'm just getting a lot more involved. I'm more conscious about the house, and I'm really enjoying that. coming out and being able to spend more time in this space, listening to my decorative sea artifact, or not artifacts, but memorabilia, these shells behind me that jingle when there's a little bit of breeze. I sit here and enjoy that without doing anything else, just looking out the sky. Number 6, the final thing is, well, actually, I'll give it a 7th bonus. The 6th thing is I'm putting less in a day, of course. So I still am waking up periodically early, but I'm letting my body wake up when it wants to wake up, which is usually about 7 or 8, and which is very late for me. During my working days, I was getting up at 5:30 to an alarm. So I stopped wearing an alarm, but I still wear a watch because I do like to see the time. Because sometimes I will wake up at night at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I don't want to fully get up if I know if it's too early. I of course don't have work to deal with, so all the day is up to me on how I spend it, and that's really an incredible feeling. It's kind of scary because I don't want to waste the day, but I also don't want to be rushed doing things the way I always had a checklist. I kept a checklist. I still write down things I need to remember to do, but I realize I don't have to do everything in a day. I have the 3-4 hours in the evening. Even my evenings during work, I didn't really own, because usually it was preoccupied with work that I would have to take home. So in most cases, I only had like a Saturday and a Sunday, and those are days I wanted to veg. And sometimes I would just space out and not kind of waste the time. Now I don't have that preoccupation, so I only have to do the things that I need to do. And so, for example, last Friday, since we're back in Laos, I need a new pedicurist. I know I'm a bit of a diva there, but I need to go find a new spa to go have a pedicure. My wife goes across the street here to some girls, some local girls who do it, but they have these tiny buckets, and I want to sit in the massage chair. I want to put my feet into a proper foot bin and have the massage and the proper pedicure done. I only do this every 1 or 2 months, but my day was waking up, doing my devotionals, going out my motorcycle, and going into town to find a spa. And I'm going to have to experiment with different spas until I find the one I like. That was an hour. That was about half an hour to find that spa, get my first pedicure, and then my second big job of the day was to go pick up my stock of coffee from the local cafe on the other side of town. So I went there, I sat down, had a coffee while I was waiting for them to count my beans and grind some of the beans, because I don't get all of them in ground. And then the next thing was to come home, eat something, and then I was home by lunch. And then around 2 o'clock we go to the gym, and then I come back from the gym. So that was the third big thing I had to do. Usually I only have 45 minutes to an hour for the gym. Here we have 2 or 3 hours now, because she likes to stay, and so I prolong it. I do the spa now. I sit by the pool, or sometimes I get in the pool, but I do the sauna and the steam room. I never had time for before. After a good hour and a half of working out, a half an hour of cardio, because one of my goals now is to really get healthy and to lose the body fat that I want to lose. And then we come home, we eat something, and I'm like, I still have 3, 4, 5 hours until bedtime, and it's free. It's not, my headspace is not occupied with work. I mean, it's such an amazing feeling, and I'm like, what can I do? One of the things I'm trying to do is embrace spontaneity and chaos. I'm only 2 weeks into early retirement, so I'm learning to know how to space out my time to do these things. And one of those things is I am still trying to de-stress and remember, I have time now. I don't need to rush to do these things. The only things I do want to do on a daily basis are study my Thai and work out, except for Sundays. So Sundays are my day of rest since I'm working out harder and longer during the week. So I can take that time now to be at church, be home, rest, relax, maybe do a video. But I'm putting away the checklist and just making a list of things I need to do and then just scheduling them on the days that I want to do them. I don't have a schedule of days of things I have to do within a certain period of time. I'm spending a lot of time on my finances now and actually going through much more thoroughly, planning things out and understanding more what my personal finances are. Something I couldn't really do before. Spending time and just being more aware of that I have the time now to think through things. So the seventh thing the bonus is for the longest time, I always felt this stress in my body, and I knew when I would left work that the stress that I felt, I can tell I'm still tensing up, but the stress that I felt in my body is a huge difference from just a month ago. I don't feel the tension in my neck as much. There's still tension there because I can tend to get a little tense. I think this will take some time to decompress. One of the biggest ones was the soreness in my back, constantly sore back here. I had DDD, degenerative disc disease, but my muscles back here were constantly sore and tense. I don't have that anymore. I mean, it's almost literally gone. I did some acupuncture at the end of December, but I'm not sure what the impact was. We've made so many changes, leaving work, doing acupuncture, and now I'm working out and I'm sleeping longer. I'm sleeping better. So that might have actually contributed all of that together. But the best thing about it is I don't feel that tension and that pain in my back that I constantly had, the soreness and the stiffness. And a lot of it's probably I'm not sitting in my chair as long as I used to. 8-10 hours a day. Now I'm up, down, up, down. I'll sit for 30 minutes, an hour, get up, walk around, do some physical movement for some reason or another. Just change my environment instead of looking at the computer all day. And my feet don't get cramps like they used to. And I'm not sure what the cause of that is. It could still be from the acupuncture, but I'm wondering if I'm not wearing shoes as often as I used to. Walking in shoes, I'm walking in bare feet more often. My feet were sore initially for the first couple of weeks I was here when I came back in mid-December, but not as much as before. So early retirement hasn't made my life louder or more exciting. It's made my life slower, calmer, and more intentional. What surprises me is how little I need to actually do in a day to actually feel fulfilled. A workout, a good cup of coffee, time with my wife, time in my devotionals and meditation in the morning, small errand, maybe 2, and that's enough. Even that one small errand was almost an inconvenience because I didn't want to go anywhere. I was really content with being home. So if you're chasing early retirement, or even just want more control over your life and time, this is the part I don't hear too many people talking about, and I think the impact is very noticeable. It's very poignant. And honestly, it might be the best part. I was looking forward to it, but I never knew what it would actually feel like. So early retirement didn't give me more to do, it just gave me more space to do what I want to do. What's one small change you noticed when life slowed down, even temporarily, even on a short sabbatical, short period between jobs? What's one thing that you enjoyed when you had the space where you didn't have to be preoccupied with work? So everybody, I hope that you enjoyed this little talk. I did. I enjoyed talking through this and thinking through this. I would love for you to hear from you in the comments below. How has early retirement affected you immediately? Because I think it's good to document this. So give me a like, subscribe, and I really appreciate you joining me and for any future videos. So in the meantime, take care, God bless, and take it slow.